For over a century, two engineering miracles controlled global trade, the Panama and Suez Canals. But what happens when both start to fail? Billions in cargo stuck waiting, supply chains collapsing, prices are exploding, and now, for the first time in human history, a new route is opening through ice that blocked it for thousands of years. Could melting Arctic ice actually kill the world's two most important canals? Let me start with Panama, because what happened there is absolutely wild. In 2023 and 2024, droughts hit hard. The water level in Gatun Lake, the reservoir that feeds the canal, dropped so low that officials had to slash daily ship transits from 36 down to the high teens. Ships waited in line for weeks. Some paid millions of dollars just to jump the queue. Cargo sat at anchor doing nothing, all because the Panama Canal has a dirty little secret. It needs rain to work. Every time a ship goes through the locks, the system uses about 200 million liters of fresh water. That water flows from the lake into the ocean, and it's gone forever. You can't pump it back uphill. So if it doesn't rain enough to refill the lake, the whole system grinds to a halt. By late 2025, the rains came back. Water levels recovered. Traffic is moving again. But nobody's relaxed. Everyone knows this can happen again. Panama is now investing about $1.6 billion to build the Rio Indio Reservoir, a new dam and tunnel system designed to pump extra water into the canal basin and secure supply for the next 50 years. Sounds great, right? Except construction isn't even starting until 2027, and it won't be finished until 2032. That's 6 more years where Panama is vulnerable to another drought, another traffic jam, another crisis. So while Panama scrambles to fix its water problem, shipping companies are looking at the map and asking, what's the backup plan? Suez's danger zone. Now, let's talk about Suez. For trade between Europe and Asia, Suez is the shortcut. Container ships, oil tankers, cargo carriers, everything flows through that single, narrow channel between the Mediterranean and the Red Sea. For years, the big question was, how do we push more ships through faster? That's why Egypt spent about $8 to $9 billion in 2015 on a massive expansion, digging a parallel lane and deepening parts of the canal so ships could pass each other. Problem solved, right? Wrong. The problem now isn't capacity, it's safety. In late 2023, attacks started in the Red Sea. Missiles, drones, ships getting hit. By 2025, many major shipping companies decided it wasn't worth the risk. They started sailing around Africa instead, adding extra days and thousands of miles to avoid getting blown up. Traffic through Suez dropped by more than half. Egypt's canal revenues crashed by over 60% in a single year. The bottleneck isn't the canal itself. It's the Bab el-Mandab Strait at the southern entrance, where drones and missiles decide who gets through. One hit on a $200 million container ship carrying 20,000 containers, that's a global shipping disaster overnight. So the industry made a calculation. If the risk stays this high, the old shortcut isn't worth it anymore. And that's why countries are suddenly very interested in a route nobody could use before, the route that was locked in ice. For centuries, explorers dreamed of a shortcut through the Arctic, a passage through the frozen north that would cut thousands of miles off trips between Europe, Asia, and North America. But the ice made it impossible. Ships would get trapped. Crews would freeze to death. It was a graveyard, until now. Here's the thing. The ice is melting, and melting fast. Every summer, the Arctic ice pulls back enough to create a clear shipping window, roughly from late July to early October, where ships with reinforced hulls can actually get through. And during that window, the advantages are massive. Take a trip from Shanghai to New York. The traditional route through the Panama Canal, about 10,500 nautical miles. The route through the Northwest Passage, the Arctic route, about 8,600 nautical miles. That's 1,900 miles shorter, about 7 days less at sea. For a large container ship, a week less travel time can mean over $1 million saved in fuel and operating costs, plus faster delivery, plus getting the ship back to work on its next job sooner. And ships are already using it. Not thousands, not hundreds, but enough to matter. Icebreaker-class cargo ships move nickel, zinc, and mining supplies for northern operations. Specialized vessels built with double-acting hulls, designed to go bow first in open water and stern first through ice, make these trips without needing escorts. Cruise ships, research vessels, and private operators pass through every summer. These aren't experiments anymore. They're real, repeatable transits through a corridor that didn't exist a generation ago. And every year, more ships are built for ice, more routes are charted, more governments invest in northern infrastructure. The question isn't if the Arctic becomes a major shipping route, it's when. Building the support system. If the Arctic is the new shortcut, then Canada and the US are now building the support system around it. Ports, rail lines, bases, icebreakers. On the Canadian side, the most important piece is Churchill, Manitoba. It's the only rail-connected deep-water port on the North American Arctic coast. Grain, minerals, and cargo can move by train from the prairies straight to Hudson Bay, then sail into the North Atlantic without touching the Great Lakes. After years of problems, Churchill is being rebuilt as a northern trade hub. The government has confirmed about $180 million over 5 years to strengthen the railway and expand the port. Further east, there's Nanisivik on Baffin Island, a refueling point for Canadian patrol ships. It gives Canada a place to show presence in the high Arctic, which matters if more ships keep coming through. On the US side, the key point is Nome, Alaska. Right now, Nome's harbor is shallow, only about 22 feet deep, which limits ship size. Larger vessels have to stay offshore and lighter cargo in by barge. That's changing. In August 2025, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers awarded a $399 million contract for the Port of Nome expansion. Phase 1 will extend the main causeway, add a new dock, and begin work to deepen the harbor to 40 feet, enough for larger Coast Guard cutters and serious Arctic traffic. The goal? Make Nome the first true U.S. Arctic deep draft port by the end of the decade. But ports alone aren't enough. You need icebreakers. For decades, the U.S. Arctic icebreaker fleet has been embarrassingly thin. Basically one aging ship held together with spare parts. Now, that's finally changing. A new polar security cutter, heavy icebreaker, is under construction. The Coast Guard bought and is converting a commercial icebreaker to be based in Alaska starting in 2026, and the U.S. signed a major deal with Finland to add up to 11 Arctic security vessels in the coming years, with the first delivered before 2030. Put it together, and the U.S. is moving from one dying icebreaker to an actual fleet that can patrol and escort ships in the Western Arctic. Russia and China are already winning. While North America is still building, Russia and China are already running a shipping corridor along Russia's northern coast. It's called the Northern Sea Route, NSR, and it's the Arctic route on the other side of the pole. Unlike the narrow channels of the Northwest Passage, the NSR is a wide corridor running along Siberia, big, open, and by December 2025, fully operational. The numbers are wild. In 2023, cargo volumes through the NSR reached 36 million tons. We're not talking about one-off experiments. This is LNG tankers, container ships, oil carriers, timber freighters, regular traffic moving serious cargo. Why is the NSR thriving when Panama and Suez are struggling? Because it offers something those old canals can't, a real alternative when choke points fail. A voyage from St. Petersburg to Shanghai via the NSR takes 20 to 22 days. Compare that to going through Suez, if you even dare, or sailing around Africa. Container volumes between Russia and China doubled in 2025, exceeding 200,000 TEU. Auto parts, consumer goods, timber, machinery, real commerce. The commercial engine here is Chinese. Western shipping companies have all left the Russian market due to sanctions. But Chinese companies have stepped in with ice-strengthened ships, regular schedules, and published rate cards. Beijing calls it the Polar Silk Road, a trade corridor immune to American naval power at key choke points or disruptions at Suez. And beneath the legitimate traffic, there's something darker. After sanctions hit Russia's Arctic LNG projects, analysts expected exports to collapse. They didn't. They went underground. A fleet of obscure vessels with opaque ownership appeared near Russian terminals. Many turned off their tracking signals while loading LNG, then offloaded cargo to non-ice-class ships to hide the origin before reaching Asia. It's lucrative and dangerous. Older ships, minimal insurance, harsh Arctic conditions. But it's happening, and the entire NSR ecosystem depends on one thing: Russia's nuclear icebreaker fleet. As of December 2025, Russia operates 4 modern nuclear icebreakers that can break through 3 meters of solid ice continuously. A 5th is being fitted out. 2 more are under construction. These ships are nuclear powered, which means they have essentially unlimited range. They escort convoys, creating a moving channel of open water. Contrast that with North America. The US is keeping one 50-year-old icebreaker running by cannibalizing parts from its dead sister ship. Russia has 4 nuclear giants, with 3 more on the way. In the Arctic, Russia sets the rules, charges the fees, and controls access. Everyone else is a guest. What happens next? So here's where we are in December 2025. Panama is dealing with a water crisis that could repeat any year. They're building a fix, but it won't be ready until 2032. Suez sits next to a war zone. Ships are getting attacked. Insurance rates are insane. Many carriers are just sailing around Africa instead. Meanwhile, the Arctic is opening. Canada and the US are finally building ports, rail links, and icebreakers. The Northwest Passage is slowly taking shape. Russia and China are already moving tens of millions of tons a year through the Northern Sea Route with regular services, nuclear icebreaker escorts, and a growing chain of ports. The old routes are under pressure. The Arctic routes aren't fully ready yet, but they're no longer theory. Ships are moving, ports are growing, and more of the world's trade map now brushes the top of the globe. Today, the shortest path between oceans doesn't always cross a canal. Sometimes it crosses the ice. What do you think? Will new routes replace the old giants, or will these engineering marvels find a way to adapt? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I am really curious what you all think. And if you found this interesting, hit that like button and subscribe for more videos like this.